What would it be like to come into the presence of God? Over the last 10 weeks, we've been talking about the names of God, how God is our banner, our shepherd, our provider and healer, how God is exalted as the great I am, yet in love and compassion, he is jealous for us. And so with all these in mind, imagine what it would be like to come into his presence. Well, Isaiah is one man who got to experience that. And this is how he describes it in Isaiah 6. He saw the Lord high and lifted up, sitting on a throne, filling up the whole temple with his glory, as he's surrounded by powerful heavenly beings who thunder the words, "Holy, holy, holy." And like a peasant before a mighty king, Isaiah immediately realizes he's out of place. And he cries out, "Woe is me, for I am ruined. I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell among a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, Yahweh Sabaoth," or the Lord of hosts. The title Yahweh Sabaoth is used over 30 times in the Old Testament, and it describes God's infinite supremacy as the glorious, almighty King over heaven and earth. And so as Isaiah beholds the glory of the Lord of hosts, he is rightfully struck with fear and awe. However, instead of being met with wrath and judgment, Isaiah finds mercy, grace, and forgiveness when one of those spiritual beings comes down to touch his lips with a burning coal from the altar, in essence transferring the holiness of God to Isaiah, making him pure before the Lord. And he says to him, "Behold, this has touched your lips, your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for." In that moment, Isaiah must have been overcome with thankfulness and praise to God. But I imagine he must have also been confused. How could I, a sinful man, be found holy before the one who is high and lifted up? How could I ever come into the presence of the God who is holy, holy, holy? And the answer to that would come nearly 700 years later, when the king came down from heaven like the burning coal coming down from the altar. And unlike a king born into royalty and brought up in nobility, this king was born in a manger and brought up as a peasant. And rather than a king who sought prestige and power, the king came to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. And rather than a king exalted on a radiant throne, this king was high and lifted up on a rugged cross. Or to put it in the words of Paul, this king, though he existed in the form of God, did not regard equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking on the form of a servant, humbling himself by submitting his life to the point of death, even death on a cross. The reason you and I have a chance to see the King, the Lord of hosts, is not because we earned the right to go to him, but because he came to us, a people of unclean lips, forgiven and made pure by the holy King of heaven, who came down to save us by his blood on the cross. Therefore, Paul would say, God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name above all names, that at the name of Jesus every knee would bow and tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. He is Yahweh Sabaoth, the Lord of hosts.